this is Sia and welcome to another video. Today we are reading chapter 8 of Hermitcraft, Subconscious Secrets. We are diving into my Minecraft-inspired world, where I put Minecraft-inspired universe, where I put Minecraft YouTubers that I know and I'm aware of into a Minecraft world and see what happens. In this case, we're looking into Hermitcraft, my own custom world, just for fun, not related to any Hermitcraft canon, though a lot of you may already know that, but to any new viewers, it's just for fun. I don't expect anyone else, any other hermits, to read this, and that's fine. But, yeah, let's get right into it. There are captions. If you want to follow along as I read the chapter, you don't have to though. It's just an option. But let's get right into it, shall we? Jem's eyes snapped open to the dark bedroom, looking toward her bedroom door. Was it her imagination, or had she heard something? It sounded like something crashing to the floor. She slowly sat up in bed, tilting her head slightly to listen. No footsteps, no alarms. Had she dreamed it? Jem shook her head, trying to clear the sleepy fog in her head. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe she should just go back to sleep. Then she heard something else. Faint, but clear to her. A whimper. There was something in her house. Or someone. Had one of her friends stopped by? Wouldn't they have warned her first? No, it wasn't a human. An animal. She'd heard that sound before, when she was exploring the wooded areas. It sounded small. Young. She climbed out of bed, glancing warily at the shadows in her room. Fortunately, it was dimly lit, enough to keep monsters from spawning. But that didn't mean there weren't dangers around every corner. Jem crept to her bedroom door, opening it as it creaked all too loudly in the silence. The whimpering had stopped, but that didn't mean there wasn't something in her house. Hello? Jem called softly, scanning the hallway. The invisibility detector hidden under a table was still on. The light illuminated the hallway with a dull red glow. At least no one's broken in. Jem let her tense body relax. Maybe it was just a little critter that got into her house. That wasn't necessarily bad. Maybe she'd make a new friend. Jem stepped into the hallway, hearing a new sound. A low, tiny whine that melted her heart. It was almost a howl, sad and alone. Jem followed the sound until she came to the main room and gasped. The large bookshelf that had been against the wall had been knocked over, the top of it caught by the coffee table. Huddled under the bookshelf, trembling, was a small, black wolf pup. Oh, you poor little thing. Jem came toward the puppy slowly, kneeling beside the bookshelf. The puppy inched back nervously, watching her with wide chocolate brown eyes. It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. The puppy whined again, crouching down as far as it could go, pinning itself to the floor. You're okay, Jem said gently, offering out a hand. The puppy didn't move. It must be hungry after such a journey. She paused. How did this puppy ever even get here? There was no old growth nearby for miles. What happened to the pup's pack? Its mother. I'm gonna have to fix some typos on here, but I'll do that off camera. I don't want to deal with the mess. Let's continue. The puppy didn't move, only a whimper, escaping its tiny mouth. Jem's heart broke. The poor thing was terrified. It's okay, little one. Let's get this bookshelf off you. Jem went to stand just as she was grabbed from behind. Jem yelped as a hand covered her mouth, something cold clicking into place around her forehead. Jem managed to yank herself away as she stumbled back. turning to see a tall, muscular man in black, wearing a dark mask. Something about the man looked familiar, but she couldn't quite make it out. "What are you doing here?" Jem demanded, putting a hand on the hilt of her sword. "Not quite ready to pull it out yet." The headband hummed softly on her forehead. "Not a danger at the moment. Just a roadblock." The man smiled coldly. "I see you found our present." Jem tensed, glancing toward the bookshelf. The puppy was still huddled under there, trembling. "What did you do to scare him?" "It's a she, actually." The man shrugged. "Boss wanted a puppy, so we found a puppy." "You separated her from her home, her family." The man chuckled. "At least you'll be there to keep her company." He lunged toward her as Jem dove out of the way, using the bookshelf to separate herself from the man, who charged toward her. Jem ducked behind the shelf, pulling out her sword just as the man reappeared. "You've got nowhere to run now, YouTuber," the man sneered. Jem tightened her grip on the sword hilt, preparing to defend herself, when the puppy bolted from under the bookshelf, with a howl, barreling past the man and toward the kitchen. The man, distracted momentarily by the puppy, wasn't able to see Jem kick him to the ground as he tumbled down like bricks. Jem put a foot on the man's chest, her sword pointed at his throat. "Who sent you?" she demanded, her green eyes narrowing. "I'd watch your back if I were you, Gemini," the man warned with a smirk. "We aren't stupid." Jem jumped at the sound of another crash as the wooden floor shook under her feet. She looked up in time to see two large masked men barreling into her house, straight toward her. "You've got to be kidding me," Jem hissed, hightailing it for the kitchen. She could hear the men's heavy footsteps. She spotted the puppy cowering under a chair as she scooped her up with her free hand. The puppy whined, squirming in protest, while quieting down when Jem pressed her up against her chest. Jem could feel the frightened puppy trembling, her heart racing a mile a minute. Jem ran for the back door, coming to a halt when it slammed open. Two more large men stood on the other side. She was trapped. Jem tensed, letting the adrenaline pump through her body as the four men approached her, blocking the exits, blocking an escape. How is she getting out of this? "Think, Jem, think," she commanded, watching the man warily, waiting for them to make their first move. Could she fight them while holding the puppy? Doubtful, but a challenge never deterred her. One of the men lunged at her, sword in hand. Jem blocked him, kicking him back as she spun around to block another attack. She spun, ducked, and dodged each assailant, waiting for an opening. There, one of the men had stepped away from the back door. She took her chance, bolting past the man and out the door, the men shouting after her, "Don't let her get away!" She heard one of the men yell, flinching when Jem heard shattering glass. They were trying to use tentacles to get closer to her. Where were their wings? Jem glanced back. Yup, the men were still hot on her heels. None of the men wore electro wings. Jem frowned. Could so easily sweep her away without a second thought, especially since Jem didn't have wings yet. That's when she felt her arms wrap around her, her feet lifting off the ground. Her grip loosened as she watched in horror as the puppy tumbled to the ground. "No!" she cried, seeing the dark form of the puppy running away from the men, who had stopped pursuing the hermit. Jem squirmed in a firm grasp, losing hold of her weapon as well. "Let me go!" "I don't think that would be a good idea," a new voice said in mock amusement. Jem stopped struggling when she realized the ground was getting closer, not farther away. "Nice catch!" one of the men cheered as the two of them landed. The man pinned Jem's arms to her side as she scowled. "Can one of you hold her so I can bind her wrists?" the man holding her barked. Jem watched one of the men step forward, but he never came close enough to touch her. As the man holding her released his grip, screaming in pain, Jem tore away from him, charging toward the nearest base. She had to find a place to hide. She glanced back when she heard panting behind her. There was the puppy at her heels, her mouth spluttered with blood. Good girl. Jem smiled. The puppy reminded her of Stacy's wolves. The wild wolves would do anything. The wolves would do anything to protect their pack member. Made her like the puppy even more. Yeah, that sentence is a little weird, but it's still okay. She dove behind a boulder as rockets flew overhead. She could barely see the flying soldier's shadow against the dark clouds. He was looking for her to snatch her again. This time, she doubted he would let her get it go again. What do you think we should do, little one? Jem whispered to the puppy. A roll of thunder shook the air as the puppy whimpered, leaning against Jem. It's okay. I'm not going to let them hurt you. The puppy looked up at her, longing in her eyes. Jem stroked her head just as the first drops of rain fell. We should find shelter before the storm comes, Jem said gently, picking up the puppy again. The puppy rested her head on Jem's shoulder, letting out a yawn. Aw, aren't you cute? Jem spoke softly, glancing up again for the soldier. He was still high in the sky. He hadn't seen her yet. Would she be able to run to one of her friend's spaces in time? There was a strong chance he'd catch her before she did. That was one downside of a well-lit meadow. She couldn't use the shadows to hide. Then again, neither could they. Hang tight. It might be a bumpy ride, Jem warned, tightening her grip on the puppy. She was not going to see an innocent creature get hurt tonight, because some jerks decided to have a party. Party that included her for whatever reason. She waited for the perfect moment, about to make her move, when she spotted smoke billowing up into the dark sky, not too far away. False. An alarm went off in her head, making up her mind as she ran for it. Toward the smoke, toward the possible fire or explosion. She had to make sure False was okay, that they didn't hurt her, or take her again. Jem didn't look back, even as the rockets flew over her head. Jem ducked away from the grasping hands of the flying soldier, False's base now in view. Part of the wall had been blown off, tongues of flame still licking at the charred wood, hungrily. False was nowhere in sight, as fear shot through her. What if she was too late? False! Jem let her voice ring into the night as the rain began to fall, heavy droplets pounding on her head and back, and she shielded the puppy from the inevitable downpour. She couldn't see any movement from the base. Her worst fears seemed to be turning into her reality. Jem, over here! Not False, another voice. Familiar. She blinked. What was Sam doing here? Jem came to a stop, turning toward the sound. There, under a custom tree, were 3 figures. 2 huddled near the ground, while the third was motionless on the grass. False! Jem's eyes widened. Her blonde hair was damp with red, and her head and shoulders were wrapped in bandages. Her aviation goggles were gone, and her black jeans were torn. Her black jacket was torn at the hem. Her face was pale in the torchlight, but she was alive. Sam gestured for her to come closer, his expression like stone. Jem yelped as the flying soldier swooped toward her again, and she dodged him, running toward her friends. What happened? Jem asked, glancing over her shoulder. Sam looked at her grimly. Ambush. We don't know how they got here or for how long. 4 bases were attacked. What? Jem gasped. There was a faint sound of shouting. Her attackers were getting close. They'd be in hot water again soon, once they found her. Impulse saw the alarms go off. He told us to find you 2 and get you out. Aaron said, shakily. We managed to fight off the men attacking False before she collapsed. Why? Jem asked, putting the puppy down next to False. The puppy whimpered for a moment, before snuggling up against the hermit. She would be safe for the moment. That's what we want to know, Sam replied. Beat up the Scars bases were attacked. We haven't heard back from the others, Sam replied. Are you okay? I'm not hurt, Jim said simply. They tried to lower my guard with a puppy. Aaron smiled. She's cute, though. Jim chuckled. Yeah, she saved me twice tonight already. Good girl. Sam patted the puppy on the head. We should stay here. The guy in the sky is most likely blabbing to his friends where we are, Jim sighed. How many? 5, not including the flying henchman. Sam nodded, getting to his feet. We can make it back to the safe house from here, then regroup. Are you sure? Jim swallowed. Sam shook his head. Have you not seen the lightning? Scared of getting electrocuted? Jim teased, heading over to her fellow hermit, lifting her off the damp grass. Aaron scooped up the puppy. Our job is to keep you safe, Sam stated matter-of-factly. Jim nodded as Aaron kissed the sleepy puppy on the head. Have you named her yet? Aaron asked, giving Jim a curious look. I think I'll call her Winnie. Jim grinned. Because tonight, we are winning. I like her too. I like that. Aaron nodded. She likes you. I like her too. Jim said quietly, looking down at her sleeping friend. Hopefully Scar and beat-ups were okay. She wasn't sure she was ready to lose a friend tonight. And that, my friends, is where we're going to leave it off today. Yep, that was chapter 8, an introduction of Winnie. And I just realized that I have to rewrite some stuff for my next book because, yeah, obviously Jim and Winnie are pretty much going to be together now. Yeah, I may or may not be introducing some hermit animals because why not? If you have any other cameos, just feel free to let me know. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to get notified for the next one, be sure to subscribe and like the video if you want. It does help me out. Leave a comment. That also helps. But other than that, have a nice rest of your day or night, and I'll see you in the next one, whenever that might be. Goodbye.